She was everything I wasn't: messy, loud, unpredictable, and completely unbothered by every rule I had carefully built around my life. I thought Lena was a problem, a chaotic, annoying, impossible to live with problem. But somewhere between the crumpled blankets and the cold coffee mugs and the cereal she ate at midnight, like it was a 5-course meal, she started to feel less like a disaster and more like the only person who actually saw me. This is the story of how a girl who lived without rules taught me that the most important things in life don't come with a schedule, and how one quiet, completely unexpected kiss made me realize that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is let someone in. And the most beautiful thing is when you finally stop fighting it. I used to think I had my life figured out, not in an arrogant way, more like I had learned, slowly and painfully, that the only things I could truly control were the things I built with my own hands. My schedule, my routines, my apartment. I woke up at 6:15 every morning. Not 6 because 6 o'clock felt too aggressive. Not 6:30 because 6:30 since I was already 5 minutes behind. 6:15 was the exact number of minutes I needed to make coffee, check my planner, and exist as a functional human being before the rest of the world came crashing in. My apartment was proof of that control. Everything had a place. The mugs were arranged by size, handles facing right. The books on the shelf were organized by color, and then by author's last name, because color alone felt too decorative and purely alphabetical felt too cold. I had a system for the spice rack. I had a system for the blanket on the couch. I had a laminated cleaning schedule on the inside of the cabinet door that my last roommate, Priya, had once photographed and sent to her friends as a joke. I didn't think it was funny. I thought it was called being organized. The thing is, I wasn't always like this. There was a version of me years ago who left dishes in the sink and forgot where she put her keys, and slept in until noon on Sundays without a single ounce of guilt. That version of me also cried in parking lots and missed deadlines and let people walk all over her because she didn't know yet that structure was a form of self-protection. The organized Maya was a survivor, even if she looked like a control freak from the outside. Lena moved in on a Tuesday. I remember thinking, when she knocked on the door with her first box, that she looked like someone who had never in her life used a label maker. She had paint on her jeans, not artistic paint, accidental paint, the kind that happens when you're not paying attention and you brush up against something and just shrug it off. Her hair was in a bun that was threatening to collapse, and she had a tote bag on one shoulder with the handles wrapped around her twice in a way that made absolutely no structural sense. "Hey, you must be Maya." She grinned at me like we'd known each other for years. "Sorry I'm a little late. I couldn't find the parking. Also, I think I have too many boxes also. Do you have a cart or anything? Because I definitely packed like I was moving to a different country." She did have too many boxes. It took 4 trips. By the 3rd trip, her bookshelf was leaning against my carefully organized wall. And by the 4th, there was a lava lamp on the kitchen counter. And I had to consciously remind myself to breathe through my nose. "I'll organize later," she said, cheerfully, gesturing at the mountain of chaos that had colonized her bedroom in approximately 40 minutes. Later never fully came. That first week I found one mug on the bathroom counter. Why? A jacket draped over the back of every single chair in the apartment. We had 3 chairs, a half-eaten bag of pretzels on the coffee table, a charger plugged into an outlet in the hallway for reasons I never understood, And this is the one that genuinely tested me. Her shoes placed just slightly in front of the shoe rack, not on it. Not like she'd missed, like she'd aimed for a spot that was simply adjacent to the actual goal. I didn't say anything. I was determined to be a good roommate. Professional, polite, tolerant. I moved the shoes twice. She placed them next to the rack again, both times. Lena, I said one evening as calmly as I could. The shoe rack is right there. She looked at the rack, looked at her shoes, looked at me. Then she smiled. Not defensively, not sarcastically, just warmly, like I'd said something endearing. Oh yeah, sorry. She picked them up and placed them on the rack. I'll remember. She did not remember. But here's the thing I didn't understand yet. Standing in that hallway with my jaw tight and my planner tucked under my arm, Lena wasn't careless. She just experienced the world in a completely different language than I did. I didn't know that yet. That Tuesday, I just knew my apartment felt louder, softer, and much less mine than it had been 7 days ago. And somewhere in the back of my chest, something I couldn't quite name had started to stir. By the end of the second week, I had developed what I privately called the Lena catalog. It was a mental list, very detailed, very specific, of every single thing my new roommate did that made my left eye twitch. Number 1, she ate cereal for dinner, not occasionally, consistently, and not just any cereal, the bright, aggressively colored kind with marshmallows. She would sit on the couch at 9:30 p.m., bowl balanced on her knee, watching whatever documentary she was currently obsessed with, looking completely unbothered by the fact that she was consuming approximately 0 grams of protein. Number 2, she sang in the kitchen. Not badly. That would have been easier to be annoyed at. She sang well in this low, absent way, like she didn't even know she was doing it. Little fragments of songs, switching genres mid-melody, occasionally making up words when she forgot the real ones. Number 3, she left the cabinet doors open, always. Every single one. I would walk into the kitchen in the morning, and it would look like a cabinet explosion had occurred overnight. Number 4, she had a habit of starting sentences and then getting distracted before she finished them. Oh, I wanted to tell you something. Anyway, do you want coffee? And then she'd hand me coffee and I would be left forever wondering what she had wanted to tell me. Number 5, she was somehow inexplicably home. This was the strangest one. I worked long hours. I came home late, usually with a tension headache and my laptop bag digging into my shoulder. And I expected the apartment to be a quiet neutral zone where I could decompress and be alone with my color-coded planner. Lena was always there, not in an invasive way. She wasn't in my face, asking questions, demanding interaction. She was just present, on the couch with her sketchbook, at the kitchen table with her laptop, cross-legged on the floor with 3 different books open simultaneously, using coffee mugs as bookmarks. I kept waiting for it to feel claustrophobic. It didn't, and I didn't understand why. At work, everything was sharp and demanding. My boss, Karen, had the specific energy of someone who considered good enough a personal insult. My coworkers were fine but guarded, the way office people are when everyone is quietly competing for the same 3 promotions. I spent 8 to 10 hours a day performing competence, and by the time I got home, my face felt like it had been held in a fixed expression for too long. And then I'd walk into the apartment, and Lena would look up and say something completely random. Like, did you know that hummingbirds are the only birds that can fly backwards? Or, I made extra pasta if you want some. Or once just, your plant looks happier today. I did not own a plant at that time. She had bought a small potted something and placed it on the windowsill without asking, and she was right. It did look extremely content up there in the afternoon sun, and that was the most irritating thing she had done yet. "You bought a plant," I said. "His name is Gerald," she said. "You named it. Him." "Yes." I looked at Gerald. Gerald looked back at me with his small, uncomplicated leaves. "Fine," I said. Lena smiled into her sketchbook. I was annoyed. I was also, if I'm being honest, slightly less tense than I had been when I walked in. I did not acknowledge this. There was Thursday in late October that I want to tell you about. It was the kind of day that doesn't have one catastrophic thing wrong with it. It's worse than that. It's the kind of day where everything is just slightly off. The coffee tastes wrong. The meeting goes 20 minutes over. The feedback on your report is good but needs more depth, which is the professional equivalent of "you tried," and by 5 p.m. you are not sad exactly, just completely emptied out. I took the long way home that night. I didn't plan to. I just found myself walking past my usual turn, hands in my pockets, looking at nothing in particular. I think I needed the cold air and the extra 12 minutes of being anonymous before I had to be a person again. When I finally unlocked the apartment door, I had my speech ready, the internal one. The one where I tell myself to just go to my room, don't engage, eat something forgettable, sleep by 10, reset. The lights were low, not dim in a power outage way, dim in a deliberate way, like someone had thought about it. The lamp in the corner was on and the overhead was off, and the apartment had that specific quality of warmth that you only notice when you've been cold for a while. There was tea on the counter. Not coffee, tea. The chamomile kind I only drank when I was trying to wind down, which was the kind I'd mentioned once, exactly once, 3 weeks ago in a passing comment about work stress. Lena was on the couch, sketchbook in her lap, headphones in. She glanced up when I came in, and she looked at me, really looked, for just a second, the kind of look that reads a person instead of just seeing them. And then she just nodded and looked back down. She didn't ask how my day was. She didn't try to cheer me up. She didn't fill the silence with anything. She just let me exist in the apartment without requiring anything from me, while the tea waited on the counter, and the lamp made everything soft, and Gerald sat on the windowsill, perfectly alive. I stood in the kitchen for a moment, holding the mug, and I felt something in my chest do something I didn't have a name for. It wasn't happiness exactly. It was more like relief. The specific relief of being known by someone who hadn't asked your permission first. I sat down on the other end of the couch, not to talk, just to be in the same room. Lena didn't comment on it. She just shifted slightly to give me more space, like it was completely natural, like I'd always done this, like the couch had always had 2 people on it. We sat like that for almost an hour. I think that was the night things changed, not dramatically. Not with a conversation or a confession or a moment I could point to and say, there, that is where it started. It started with tea, with low light, with someone who understood that sometimes the kindest thing you can do for a person is not ask them to explain themselves. I thought about it later, in my room staring at the ceiling. Lena's room was messy. Her attention was not, and that, I realized, was the most dangerous thing she'd shown me yet. After that night, I started noticing things I hadn't let myself notice before. The way Lena paid attention, quietly, to the things that mattered and ignored the things that didn't. She never remembered to hang up her jacket. She always remembered that I took my coffee with no sugar. She left cabinet doors open, but she never, ever touched my planner. She borrowed my phone charger once, asked first, and charged her phone to exactly 80% before unplugging it and leaving a sticky note that said, "Thanks," with a small drawing of a lightning bolt. The sticky note was on my nightstand for 2 weeks before I moved it. I told myself it was because I hadn't gotten around to throwing it away. Then there were the smaller things, the ones I really should have paid more attention to earlier, because looking back, they were extremely obvious. There was the Tuesday I came home frustrated about a presentation and started stress cleaning the kitchen at 11 p.m. and Lena appeared after 10 minutes with a glass of water and sat on the counter and just kept me company while I reorganized the cabinet I'd already organized perfectly. She didn't say, "You don't need to do this," or "You should sleep." She just sat there, occasionally handing me things, occasionally making commentary like, "Why do we have 4 wooden spoons? Is this a precaution?" And making me laugh even when I didn't want to. There was the Saturday I was trying to get work done, and she was playing music from her room. Not loud, just present. And at some point the song changed to something slow and quiet, and I realized I had stopped typing and was just sitting there listening, and I didn't feel the need to ask her to turn it off. There was the night she fell asleep on the couch with her sketchbook face down on her chest. And I walked past to get water and saw it, and I stood there longer than I needed to, watching her breathe, and then very quietly got the blanket from the armchair and put it over her, and then went to my room and lay awake for 40 minutes, trying to figure out what exactly was happening to me. "Nothing," I told myself. "Nothing is happening. She's your roommate. She is a chaotic, lava lamp owning, cereal for dinner eating roommate, and you are simply a person who is grateful for consideration." She teased me too. That was new. It started small. A raised eyebrow when I resorted the bookshelf for the third time. A quiet, "Is that a new section?" when I created a separate shelf zone for books I'd read versus books I hadn't. But it evolved. She started calling me rule book in this completely affectionate way that should have been annoying but wasn't. She'd say things like, "Rule book, we're out of cereal. What does the crisis protocol say?" Or she'd catch me reorganizing something and just lean in the doorway and smile and say, "Nothing at all," which was somehow worse. I called her disaster once in retaliation. She laughed so hard she dropped her mug. "I love that," she said, genuinely delighted. "Please always call me that." I did, eventually. Not always, but sometimes in moments when it felt easy. Disaster. Rule book. 2 people in an apartment, driving each other gently, incremental insane, in a way that had started to feel this like friction and more like warmth. I didn't say anything about it, but I noticed every single thing. It was her idea, obviously. "Fleece Market Sunday," she announced one Friday evening, appearing in the kitchen doorway with her sketchbook and a level of enthusiasm that suggested she had been thinking about this for more than 30 seconds. "Come with me." "I have things to do Sunday," I said. "What things?" "Laundry, meal prep, the quarterly report I've been pushing back." She tilted her head. "It's a Sunday." "Yes, Maya." She looked at me with this expression that was half exasperated, half fond. "When is the last time you did something that wasn't on your planner?" I opened my mouth, closed it. "The tea," she said. "The couch, that night. That wasn't planned, and you didn't hate it." She was right, and I was irritated that she was right. "Fine," I said. 2 hours. Great. She was already writing it in her own notebook, which was not a planner, just a regular notebook with no system or structure whatsoever. "We're leaving at 10. We left at 10:15, which for Lena was basically military precision. The flea market was in this big open lot on the east side of the city that I'd driven past 100 times and never thought to stop at. It was loud and a little chaotic and smelled like old books and coffee and something faintly metallic. And Lena walked into it like she was returning to her natural habitat. She was different here. Not different in a way that felt unfamiliar. More like a version of her I recognized from the upper art, but amplified. She stopped at every third stall. She held things up to the light. She got into a 10-minute conversation with an elderly man about the history of a particular type of ceramic tile and came away with 2 tiles, a business card, and what appeared to be a recipe written on a piece of paper. "Did you just make a friend?" I said. "His name is Bernard. He's been doing this for 30 years. She tucked the recipe into her jacket. "His daughter makes the best lemon cake in the city, apparently." I looked at her. "You got a recipe?" "He wanted to give it to someone who'd appreciate it." She smiled. "I told him you love to bake. I don't bake. You could start." I didn't bake. But I kept the recipe anyway when she pressed it into my hand, because Bernard had written it in very neat handwriting on actual stationery, and throwing it away felt rude. We walked for 2 hours, then 3. I stopped checking my phone. At some point, we ended up at a coffee cart near the back, and we sat on a low wall with paper cups, and the sun was doing that thing in late autumn, where it sits lower and warmer than you expect. And Lena was talking about a mural she wanted to paint, and I was listening, actually listening. Not thinking about the quarterly report, or the laundry, or the 47 other things I had assigned to this day. "You're relaxed," she said, like she'd noticed something rare. "Don't make it weird," I said. She laughed softly. "I'm not. I like seeing it. When you're not running." I looked at her. She was watching me with this expression I hadn't seen before. Or maybe I'd seen it many times and hadn't let myself register it until now. Open, certain. Like she knew exactly what she was looking at and had known for a long time. "Lena," I said. You said you'd wanted to tell me something. A few weeks ago, in the kitchen. You started to say it, and then you changed the subject." She was quiet for a beat. The market noise kept going around us. "Yeah," she said. "What was it?" She turned her coffee cup in her hands. She wasn't nervous exactly. More like she was choosing the right words carefully, in a way that was very unlike her usual approach of saying whatever came first. "I wasn't joking," she said finally. "All of it, the teasing, the nicknames, staying in the tea." She looked at me. "I wasn't joking about any of it. The air between us changed. Not dramatically, not like a movie. Just shifted. The way the temperature changes when a door opens somewhere." I knew what she meant. I had known for a while. In the part of myself I kept very firmly organized and away from variables I couldn't control. She was a variable I could not control. "I know," I said. She searched my face. Okay, I said. We sat there a moment longer, not saying anything, with the art of sun and the market noise and 2 paper cups between us, and something irrevocable happening quietly in the middle of all of it. After the flea market, the apartment felt different. Not worse. Not better. Exactly. More like charged. Like everything had a very slight electric quality to it, the way the air feels before rain. That specific pressure of something coming. We were both aware of it. I know we were. But we moved around each other carefully, not avoiding, just pausing. Like we both needed a beat before the next thing. I found myself noticing her in different ways. The way she looked in the morning, before she'd fully woken up, hair loose and eyes soft, and completely unbothered by the concept of presentation. The way she laughed with her whole body, genuinely, like laughter was an activity she committed to fully. The way she could be completely absorbed in something, her sketchbook, a documentary, a book, and then surface, find me in the room, and just settle, like my presence was something she had already accounted for. She caught me watching her once. We were in the kitchen. She was making the cereal. I was leaning on the counter with my mug, and I had been looking at her for probably 10 seconds longer than was casual. And when she turned around and caught me, she didn't say anything clever. She just smiled, slow and quiet, and then turned back to her bowl. My face went warm. I went to my room and sat on the bed and said out loud to no one, "This is not ideal." But here's the thing about being a person who has spent years managing herself carefully. You get very good at processing. I sat with it. I named it. I did not catastrophize or deny. I said internally and with full honesty, "Maya, you have developed feelings for your roommate, and the feelings appear to be returned. And this is going to require you to do something that does not come with a flowchart." It was terrifying. It was also underneath the terror, something that felt uncomfortably like relief. The almost happened on a Wednesday. We were on the couch, late. We'd been watching something neither of us was fully tracking, and somewhere in the last hour, we'd drifted closer together in the unconscious way. That happens when the room gets quieter and the hour gets later and you stop monitoring the distance. Her head was tilted toward me. My shoulder was almost touching hers. The TV was saying something I wasn't hearing. She turned to say something, I don't even know what. Because the moment she turned, we were much closer than either of us had calculated, and the words stopped before they started. She looked at me. I looked at her. For one long suspended second, neither of us moved. I could have. I could have closed the 4 inches of distance that remained. I didn't. I exhaled and looked at the TV. "I should sleep," I said. "Yes," she said. Her voice was very even. I went to bed. I lay there for a long time, staring at the ceiling and thinking that I was, without question, my own biggest problem. I spent the next few days being so very organized about absolutely everything, except the one thing that mattered. I reorganized the spice rack. I deep cleaned the bathroom. I submitted the quarterly report 2 days early. I created a new section in my planner labeled Personal Development, and then stared at it for 10 minutes without writing anything, and closed the planner. Lena and I were still normal, still easy, still the nicknames and the tea and the couch. But there was something slightly more careful about it now. A few millimeters of space we were both choosing to maintain. And I hated it. I hated that I had put it there. I told my coworker Nadia about it over lunch. Not all of it. Just the broad version. There is a person. There are feelings. I don't know what to do. Nadia, who had been married for 7 years and had zero patience for unnecessary emotional delay, put down her fork and looked at me. "Maya," she said, "I know. What are you waiting for? It's complicated. Is it? She's my roommate. If it goes wrong, you'll find a new apartment." Nadia picked up her fork. "Or you'll have slightly awkward mornings. Both survivable." She pointed the fork at me, not threateningly, just directionally. "You know what's not survivable? Watching someone want you and doing nothing about it because you're scared of a variable." I said, "I don't use the word variable out loud." "You absolutely do," she said. "Your ex told me at the company picnic." I did not have a response to that. That night I came home and Lena was at the kitchen table with her sketchbook, and she looked up and said, "Hey, rule book," and smiled. And something in my chest did the thing it always did, and I thought, Nadia is right. I am doing this to myself. "Lena," I said. The thing you said at the market about not joking." She put down her pencil. She looked at me steadily. "Yeah," she said. "I haven't been joking either," I said, in case that wasn't clear. She was quiet for a long second, and then she stood up and she walked around the table and she stopped right in front of me, close, and she just looked at me, patient, warm, completely certain, and she said very quietly, "I know." She kissed me like she had all the time in the world, not urgent, not surprised. Like this was something that had always been going to happen, and she had always known it. And now that it was here, she was simply being fully present for it. I had been kissed before. I want to be clear about that. I had been in relationships, careful ones, the kind I managed well and exited gracefully and processed thoroughly in my journal. I knew what kissing felt like. It did not feel like this. This felt like the moment you set down something heavy that you've been carrying so long. You forgot you were carrying it. This felt like the apartment at night, low light, chamomile tea, quiet that meant something. This felt, and I know this sounds ridiculous, like the exact right temperature. When we stopped, she had her forehead against mine, and her hands were lightly on my arms, and her eyes were closed. "Hi," she said. "Hi," I said. She laughed softly, and I felt it more than heard it. "You okay?" she said. I took stock. I was standing in my kitchen, with its organized cabinets, some of which Lena would inevitably leave open, and Gerald on the windowsill and the lava lamp doing its slow thing in the corner of the living room and the shoe rack in the hall where Lena's shoes were not, technically, on it. "Yeah," I said. "I really am." She pulled back enough to look at me properly. Her expression was the one I'd been cataloging for weeks, without naming it. Open, certain, entirely unafraid of what she saw when she looked at me. "I want to say something," she said. "Okay. I like your rules." I blinked. "What?" "I know I make fun of them. The laminated schedule and the planner and the thing with the spice rack. But I like them." She tilted her head slightly. "They're you. The way you built this whole careful world because you needed it. I think that's actually..." She paused. "I think you're kind of remarkable. I just wanted to say that out loud." I looked at her for a long moment. "I like your chaos," I said. "Even the shoes." "You don't like the shoes. I like that you put them almost on the rack. It's very you." She grinned. "Almost is my best." "I know." I leaned into her slightly. "Turns out almost is enough." She kissed at me again, and it was lighter this time, shorter. Just a punctuation mark. A comma, not a period. A promise of more sentences to come. In the living room, the lava lamp kept moving. Gerald sat in his window. The blanket on the couch was crumpled, exactly as Lena had left it that morning. For the first time since I moved in, none of that bothered me at all. Here is what nobody tells you about letting someone in. It doesn't happen all at once. You don't have one conversation, one kiss, one night, and then everything is different. You have all of that, and then you wake up the next morning, and the cabinet doors are still open, and there are still shoes adjacent to the rack, and the cereal is still cereal. The difference is, you stop wanting it to be otherwise. That's the part that surprised me. I expected it to be a compromise. Me tolerating her chaos in exchange for something else. The way all good relationships involve a ledger of acceptable trade-offs. I did not expect to stop seeing the chaos as chaos. But that's what happened, week by week, slowly. The way your eyes adjust in the dark. We made rules. Lena's idea, actually. "Let's make house rules together." she said one morning, sitting cross-legged on the counter, which was, technically, not hygienic, with her coffee and her notebook. Real ones that make sense for both of us. I sat at the table and looked at her. You want to make rules, I want to make our rules. She emphasized the hour. We made a list. Some were mine. Dishes done before bed. Groceries on Sunday. No music after midnight on weekdays. Some were hers. No work on Sunday sound zones before 10. Movie nights can happen on impulse. Gerald gets talked to at least once a day. That last one is not a functional household rule, I said. It is if it's on the list, she said. It was on the list. We moved through those weeks with this specific tenderness of two people who have decided to be careful with something that matters. She still teased me. I still organized things she'd disorganized. But it was different now. The teasing had warmth underneath it that I could hear plainly, and the organizing felt less like armoring myself and more like just taking care of a life we were starting to share. My coworker Nadia demanded a full report. She sounds wonderful, Nadia said, in that calm, deeply satisfied voice she used when she had been right about something. She's very messy, I said. And she remembered my tea order after hearing it once, and she bought my plant a name, and she put my shoe rule on the list, even though she never follows it. So wonderful, Nadia said. I did not argue. There was a night, about a month in, when I came home to music, playing through the apartment. Something I knew but couldn't name immediately, slow and unhurried, and I found Lena in the kitchen, actually cooking, not cereal, real food, following a recipe written on stationery in very neat handwriting. Is that? I started. Bernard's lemon cake, she said. I found the recipe in my jacket. She turned around, and she was smiling, and there was flour somewhere in her hair, and she looked completely unaware of it. I figured we should make it. I washed my hands and stood beside her and read the recipe over her shoulder, and we made the cake. Badly at first, then better. In the kitchen that was mine and hers and ours, while the music played, and Gerald watched from the window, and the apartment smelled like citrus and warmth. It turned out remarkably well. 6 months later, the apartment looked different, subtly. You might not notice if you hadn't seen it before. The shoe rack still had Lena's shoes beside it, not on it. The cabinet doors still required closing approximately twice a day. Gerald had 2 friends now, a small fern named Harriet, Lena's addition, and a cactus named Steve, which I had purchased myself. Because apparently now I bought plants, which was something that had happened gradually and without my permission. My planner still had its color-coded system, but there were new colors in it. Orange for not work, soft yellow for what Lena had labeled, in her handwriting when she borrowed it once. Actually, fun things. She borrowed my planner and wrote in it. I found this out after the fact. I kept the section. We had our rhythms now, the ones we'd built together, the ones from the list, the ones that had grown up around us, naturally, like plants growing toward light. Coffee in the morning, hers first because she made it. Quiet reading on Sunday, loud cooking on Saturday when nobody had anywhere to be. She still sang in the kitchen. I knew all the songs now. Some of them I sang too, low and tentative, when I thought she couldn't hear, and she always let me think I was getting away with it. One evening I came home from work to find her on the couch, sketchbook open, headphones on, completely absorbed. She didn't hear me come in. I put my bag down and made tea, chamomile for me, whatever the strong black kind was that she liked, and I brought both mugs over and sat down next to her and tapped her arm. She took out one earbud, looked at the mugs, looked at me, You made tea, she said. You've made it 1,000 times. I said, I can learn. She set down the sketchbook and leaned into me, tucking herself against my side in that casual, total way she had. Like this was where she had always been planning to end up. Rule book, she said. Disaster, I said. I'm glad you moved here. I looked at the apartment, the open cabinet, the shoes, the 3 plants, the lava lamp, the blanket on the couch, crumpled, lived in hours. I didn't move here, I said. I was already here. You moved in. Semantics. I'm a details person. She laughed, and I felt it against my shoulder. Okay, she said. I'm glad I moved in. Me too, I said, quietly, meaning it completely. The lamp did its slow thing. Gerald was thriving. The apartment smelled like old books and coffee, and something warm that wasn't any of those things. Something that was just us. I had spent years building walls I called routines. I had organized my life into something airtight and safe and entirely under my control. And then Lena arrived with too many boxes and paint on her jeans and her shoes at the exact wrong angle. And she didn't knock any of my walls down. She just walked around them, slowly, persistently, warmly, until one day I looked up and noticed that the walls were still standing. But I was standing outside them, and it was okay. Better than okay. My schedule still exists. My planner still has its system. I still wake up at 6:15 and organize the spice rack and fold the blanket on the couch. The difference is, I fold it knowing it will be crumpled again by evening. And I like that. I like the evidence of a life being lived in. I like the shoes that miss the rack and the cabinet doors that stay open. Cereal that will always be someone's idea of dinner. I like the mess. Because the mess is hers and she's is mine. And we are home. If you made it to the end, drop I choose the chaos in the comments. And if you want more slow burn roommate stories, you know what to do. See you in the next one.